Welcome back to another 3 questions in 3 minutes with our power players in tourism and hospitality. Today, I'm joined by Kareem Massoud, winemaker at Palmer Vineyards, Pominock Vineyards, and the president of Long Island Wine Country. Kareem, thank you so much for being here with me.
Happy to be here with you.
So I know that your father was a winemaker, and I'm wondering if that's what inspired you to get into the business or when exactly you knew that winemaking was for you.
Yeah, I was 10 years old when my parents started this whole project in 1983, and yes, from the very beginning, it was something that was always there as a calling or potential calling. And when I finally went to the University of Pennsylvania in the early 90s, by the time I was a junior, I told my parents when I graduated that even though I was very much on a Wall Street track, that I wanted to work for them when I graduated. And they said, well, that's not why we're sending you to an Ivy League school. Maybe, you should get a real job, in so many words. And in fact, that's what I did. I did spend a couple of years in New York in finance before I came back to the family business. But it was always something that was there, very much a part of our lives growing up for my brothers and I. And so here we are today.
Well, it's wonderful. Great. It's great that you're a legacy. So could you describe your work in a bit more detail? What does it mean to be a winemaker for a vineyard? And what does it mean to be president of Long Island Wine Country?
People have a perception that winemakers, all they do is taste wine and blend wine. And that is definitely part of my job sometimes. But like a lot of people, I also spend a fair amount of time in front of a desk on a computer. But it's really fun work. I love what I do. Because there's a variety of work. There are days I am in the cellar, as I just described, working on blending wine and actual winemaking activities, racking wine from one vessel to another, transferring wine from one vessel to another, bottling, filtering, things like that. Less glamorous things like warehousing, like driving a forklift. But there are many other facets of what we do where we're interacting with the public, doing tours, going out and doing wine dinners, interacting with guests, and then as president of Long Island Wine Country, it's been about 2.5 years or so that I'm doing that. It's a very fun role to be in, and the main objective is to elevate the image of Long Island wine and to promote the Long Island wine industry.
So as the last question, it's kind of a two-parter. I'm very curious. What is the best wine you've ever tasted and the best wine you've ever made?
Wine is so subjective, and it's so much depends on who you're with, what foods you're having, what the moment is all about, and so forth. But I do have some answers. A very special friend shared a very special wine. That was the 1947 Clos de Vougeot. I'd rarely ever had a wine that old, and when I saw it, the bottle was not full. I mean, the cork was still in it, but it was a low fill. And so that's a warning sign that the wine might not be good anymore. But it blew me away. In spite of the low fill, it still showed, for a wine that was about 70 years old. It was a remarkably beautiful wine, and a very special wine to drink the wine that old and have it. And aside from its age, it was just a gorgeous wine. And then I was, for my own wines, it's like asking which one's your favorite child. They're all my babies. It's very hard to pick one. But if I had to narrow it down, I would go with our 30th anniversary special edition wine that we made for our 30th anniversary. That was a blend of some of the best wines we made, red wines from our 2010 vintage, which was one of the best red wine vintages we've seen.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much. They both sound delicious, sound like incredible experiences too. I love what you said about how it's really about the people that you're with and the moments and the memories that you make when you're sipping. So thank you so much, Kareem, for joining me today and for being a power player in tourism and hospitality.
Thanks for having me.